Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Nebraska Entertainment Monthly. I'm your host, Elijah, and I am here joined by Katie. Katie, could you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about just the general responsibilities and what you do in the film industry around here?
Yeah, so my name is Kate Robertson Pryor, and I am a local to Nebraska producer and actor.
Wow. So you do wear a lot of hats around here, kind of thing?
I definitely do. I think that these days you really have to. I don't know that that just having one skill nowadays is enough. I think that you have to really diversify yourself, and so I got into producing. That kind of segues from what I did previously. I was in the corporate business world for years before I actually started doing this. So a little bit about my background is kind of a typical artist story. I, performed as a kid in, school, church, and I was a dancer. I danced since I was 3 years old and classically trained ballet dancer, jazz, and then went on to do the whole gambit of dance as far as hip hop and lyrical and contemporary, and I did point work as well. And then I ended up dancing collegiately for 4 years. And so I always, entertaining was always part of who I am. But that typical kind of actor, entertainer story comes in that my parents, they were always so supportive of anything I did, but there just weren't opportunities where I grew up to really make a living out of it. And so it just wasn't something that they knew how to guide me in that direction. So it was like, this is great that you got this, you were able to dance collegially, and that's wonderful. But now, you need to focus on something where you can get a real job, out of school. And so it was like business. My dad was very business oriented. He was an entrepreneur. And so that's what I did. I went into business and business marketing and promotions. And after college, I got a job with a big company working in marketing and managing and did that. And then I also worked, my sister and I became business partners and owned several businesses together as well. So managing in the business world was really what I was doing until I wasn't, and I met my husband, and then he's in the Air Force. So we were in Tennessee, and when we got married, I had to partner out of the businesses that I was in. And then we moved to Bellevue, Nebraska, which when I first found out that we were moving to Bellevue, I cried profusely because I just thought that I was going to be stuck in the middle of a tornadic cornfield somewhere.
Yeah, sorry people in Bellevue.
But it was just out of ignorance. I just didn't know much about Nebraska. So when I dried my tears and got on the old Google, I quickly learned that, it's a real city. There's a million people in the metro and surrounding areas. So thought, I'm going to be just fine. And then as soon as we got here, I just felt I'm a Christian, and my faith is very important to me, and it's a foundation for everything that I do. And I just felt God saying to me, I created you to be in the entertainment industry. This is what you were meant to do, and this is your time now. And I think timing is everything. And so it was, this is your time. I'm about to open doors for you. Get ready to run through them. I've said this a lot. I've said this on other podcasts, but it's just such a big part of my story. And so I got an acting coach. I think that training is super important. So I got a coach and just really hit the ground running and started training 30 hours a week and have been in continuous ongoing classes ever since then.
Wow. So that was that kind of first major step when you moved here to kind of get where you are to now, you would say, right?
Oh yeah, training for sure. I do believe that acting is it's a craft. And some people, there's that 1% or less that just have a natural talent, and that's amazing, great for them. But for the majority of us, I think that you have to train and that you continue to work on that. And we never really get to this, you never really get to the end of it. It's something that you continue to work on, I think, for the rest of your career if you want to be good at it. So.
Very true indeed. Do you have any, with all the time that you put in, do you have any inspirations, either a person or just an idea that kind of helped get you going, and not necessarily want to get you through into this spot that you are in now, but just to help get you through it? That's a lot of time that you put in. So do you have any inspirations to help you through that?
I mean, definitely my coaches have been amazing. My first coach here was Nicole Callahan, and she's still coaching here. And I mean, without her, I don't think I would be sitting here. And that goes for the rest of my coaches as well. I've had amazing coaches. And my family support, the support from my husband, having people around you who support you is paramount, I think. And then my faith, like I said, my faith is something that's gotten me through the really tough, hard, the grittiness of the industry, because it is something that it's not overnight. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so you have to have that grit and determination and that foundation of faith that this is something that you are supposed to do, to be able to continue to pursue it when, it's not like you go to a job, 9 to 5 and work comes in spurts, and then there's times where you don't have work. So yeah, that my faith is really a big part of that. And then there've been certain people as well. I always say that I wouldn't be a filmmaker, because I'm also a filmmaker, and I kind of became a filmmaker out of necessity, because to get my work seen, I had to create it. So I always say I became a producer by default, but a lot of my past with the business world, it translated to producing. So my experience with managing and with interpersonal skills and active listening and managing people's emotions, like all of that translated into producing. And leadership, I have taken so many classes on leadership and personal development, and I think that that's so important for being a producer and filmmaker, because you're a leader on set. And the better you are at that, I think the better you are going to be at producing and filmmaking. So I think that's important. But to say that, I don't even think that I would be a filmmaker at all. In fact, I know I wouldn't be if it weren't for 3 people that live here in Nebraska, and that's David Weiss and Jamie and Rush and Christine Burright. And they really invested in me, believed in me, helped me get my first projects up and going, and I am forever grateful for all of them. And a lot of us have continued to work together, and Christine and I think I was calculating it the other day, and I think we've done like 8 or 10 projects together, which is amazing. So and that's, whether I was acting in one of hers, or we were producing together, or she was writing and I was producing, but in some way we've worked on that many together. And we just finished another one. I have been a producer on 12 films now, 12 independent films, 11 shorts and 1 feature. And I'm working on numbers 13, 14, and 15 right now. So. Wow,
you're still going.
Yeah.
You talked a bit about your producer role, and then more at the end. So you actually do have a production company.
Yes.
Can you give us just how you got to that point and kind of what made you want to start your own? You did talk about it a bit. You have to make it yourself.
Right. Yes.
Before anybody else really can. So kind of how'd you get there, and then the name as well, Heartland Honey Productions. What made you land on that?
Yes, so it's Heartland Honey Productions, honey like Hunny, hey honey, and it's films with heart. And I knew that I wanted to continue to produce after I did it the first couple of times, and so I felt like it was important to create a business around that. And since I have a business background and experience, I wanted to use that once again to create the production company. So I have an LLC, and that's just part of filing and paying the money and getting it up and running. So.
And what kind of roles do you have there, since you are like the head of it? You talked a bit about you produce, you kind of get in like some of the creative aspects, and you act. Do you just kind of do a bit of everything there?
You know, as an actor or as a producer with your own production company, you are the CEO, the CFO, the COO, you're the manager, you're the salesperson, you know, I'm my own PR department, I'm my own marketing department, and I'm the product, you know, so it's just kind of a lot. You have to, as an actor or as a producer, I think you have to be your own business. You have to treat it like a business. This is, you know, anyone can be an actor, but not everyone is going to be in the business of acting. And I don't think that everyone can make a living being an actor anymore. It's just, just that alone without having some kind of supplemental income. I think that's just the reality of where we are today with the industry. But yeah, I don't really know what tangent I just got off on there, but.
You're totally fine. That's what all this is for. It's a very relaxed kind of environment. All of it's good information. Help somebody learn, who knows. Since you have been doing this for a while, what's like the biggest challenge or challenges you come across with your production company, just as a producer, or also just like managing these big projects?
Yeah, so producing is one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And over the past, I've managed over 250 employees, I've run multiple businesses, and producing is still, I think, one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And it's really just because there are so many variables. I always say that every time a film is completed, a film is actually made, I feel like it's a little miracle. And it really is, because so many things have to go right for a film to get made, and there are so many different people's personalities and schedules and locations, and everything has to just come together for it to happen. And when it does, it really does kind of feel like a miracle. And so I've had lots of struggles with, you know, especially working on little to no budgets, because that's where we are. So the challenge of that is, you know, finding a team who can, you know, their schedules align with the schedule that you're wanting to film. And then you lose people because they get pulled away on bigger projects that are paying more, and that's just part of it. And so you lose someone, and then you find maybe someone else, and then you feel like you take one step forward, but then you take like 10 steps backwards, because then this crew can't do it anymore, that crew can, or you lose this actor, and you lose a location last minute. That's been, you know, one of the hardest things to manage too, is you have your whole crew and your whole cast ready to go, and then something falls through with the location last minute. So then what do? You just don't give up. That's kind of been like that grit and determination. There were so many reasons on this last production that I did that was a SAG micro budget agreement rom-com short.
Ooh.
Yes, that Christine Burright was the screenplay writer for, and she also directed alongside Chance Guida, who also filmed the production. But there were just countless reasons why we should have said we have to cancel our production date, because it was like wall after wall after wall after wall. And there was just something in me that I just felt like, don't give up. Like I felt God was saying, like, just don't give up. Just keep pressing forward, and I did. And then we ended up, things came together and we got it done. And again, feels like a miracle.
But you managed to get it done, so that's all that really matters. Even if the product isn't as perfect as you may want it to be, just getting it done, the community is just kind of something magical.
It really is. And you know, every time that I go into something, as far as producing or acting, like my goal is always excellence. It's not perfection, but it's excellence. Like I want that level of quality. We might not always hit the mark. I mean, I know I'm certainly no Meryl Streep when it comes to acting, but like all I ask myself to do is to put in the work and to show up and do the very best that I can. And I feel like I've done that, and I'm that I can be proud of. You know, I can be proud of, like, I put in the work and I showed up and I gave it everything that I had. And there might be other circumstances and things that I couldn't control that lessened the quality or whatever it might be, but that was the goal. Excellence was the goal. And even if we don't hit it, that was always the goal. Like, I never do anything just to do it. Like, just to say, oh, just go out and just, the more films you make, the better you'll get at it. Well, I think that's kind of true, but not really. I mean, one of the most misquoted quotes, I feel like, of all time is that practice makes perfect. That's not really true. The quote is perfect practice makes perfect. I'm not saying that you have to be perfect, but again, that's that goal of excellence for me. If you repeatedly do things with a lack of quality, or you repeatedly do things, you know, a wrong way, you're not necessarily going to get better. And so I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are, I mean, I always want to be like the least qualified person in the room. Like, when I'm training in acting classes, like, I want to be the worst one in the class, because that's how I learn. You learn, you know, there's a quote that says that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And so I want to be the one bringing the average down, you know, like, I want to be the worst one in the room, because that's how I learn. I think that you're elevated by the people that you choose to be around and the quality that they bring to the table. So, and I think it's important people ask me all the time, you know, like, how do I get started? What do I do? And I'm like, learn a skill within the industry. You know, if you want to be an actor, get into acting classes. There's so many amazing acting classes that are now available through Zoom. It used to be before COVID, and this was one good thing that COVID actually did, and I took full advantage of it, is that I would have normally had to have lived in Los Angeles. I would have had to have lived in Atlanta to train with these incredible coaches. And COVID brought it to my living room. And so I took full advantage of that, and I'm so thankful to have been able to have trained with and continued to train with these amazing coaches. So, and a lot of them still offer classes online. And that's huge. So the excuse is like, well, I can't find a coach. They're out there. And so I say, train and learn to be a great actor. And then as you're training, you'll meet community, because all of it is really just about community. And you have to have a community where you're all lifting one another up, and you bring your own skill set, different skill sets come together, and then you're able to make a film. So, you know, whether that's, if you want to be a sound engineer, you know, learn how to be a good sound engineer, and then you bring a skill set to the table, and then, you know, someone else will want that skill set, and then you'll be able to offer your skill set, and then they bring their skill set to the table. So it's a culmination of community and skill sets. So, but the most important thing, have a skill set.
Very true. Kind of get started on the basics. Now you were talking about, like, the acting classes that started online. I'm curious, since there are probably a lot of, at least, younger people who want to get into, not necessarily acting, but just something in this line of work. Are there any, like, specific teachers or paths that you can, like, okay, go here and you're gonna at least get a community and get some of those basic skills you were talking about? Would you say there's any like that?
Yeah, I mean, 100% especially for acting, because that's where that's the skill set that I really dove into. I had a separate skill set that I gained over years of experience, again, in the business world, and went to college for that as well. So I had that set of skills in my back pocket, but for the industry of how I knew to break into it was acting. And so Nicole Callahan, who is here in Nebraska at the 402 Arts Collective. So she's a great coach. There's also other coaches there. I think Steve Hayden is there. There's the Backline Comedy for Improv here, which is amazing. I've trained with them as well. And then as far as online, there is Drama Inc. out of Atlanta. I've trained with them for years. They're all amazing. There's Alex Collins, there's Billy O'Leary, there's the Hood School of Acting, which I think is out of Cleveland, Ohio, if I'm correct. But they have such a big online presence, and they do such a great job with that. So that's an option as well. So yeah, there's so many, but we have some right here in Nebraska as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's great, and that should be hopefully enough for the people who want to at least get started,
Yeah.
just kind of researching. I do want to get back to your more kind of bigger projects that you've done. I do know that you have worked on the film Snack Shack, which actually released earlier this year.
Yes.
But it was filmed about 2 years ago now. Do you have any stories you want to tell about that when it came to favorite aspects of working on it, or challenges, maybe some things you do different?
Yeah, I don't know there were just so many highlights. So many highlights. That was an incredible experience. It was my first SAG-AFTRA film that I was cast in, and it was amazing. And I think a lot of it, I was right place, right time. I think there is a lot of luck in this industry, but I say luck as based on the quote of luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So you have to be prepared, you have to be trained, you have to have a skill set, because you can do all the networking and all the marketing in the world, but if you can't back it up with a skill set, people are going to find that out really quick, and you're probably not going to work again.
Yeah, you can get exposed and possibly blacklisted. So
so I was able to see where they were casting for that, and I submitted through Actors Access, which is a casting platform, and I got a request for a self-tape, which self-taping is a whole new thing that happened really since COVID. So we can touch on that a little bit later if we have time, because that has been a huge shift and change in the industry. But I submitted a self-tape, and I got a call back, and the call back was in person. So I drove down to Nebraska City for my in-person audition, and I felt really prepared for that, because the classes that I'd trained in, especially with Nicole, we did so many live audition exercises in our classes. So I felt really prepared and really confident, and Neely Casting, will always be so grateful to Neely Casting for seeing something in me. And I just remember when I did my first take, and she just said, "Wow, you're really good." And I was like, "Oh, wow, like, thank you so much." And then she was like, "I guess the only other thing, let's just try this for fun another way." And I did it, and she was like, "Okay, thank you." And then I left, and I don't know, maybe about a week later, I got an email that said that I was cast as one of the moms in the film. So
that is
it was incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just the cast, I mean, it was just so amazing to be in the room with these incredible actors that I look up to. I love Jillian Vigman, and I was in a scene with her, and she was in Step Brothers years ago, and it was a huge movie, and she's just had such a big career. She was on Mad TV for years, and then she was just recently in the Holdovers movie that Alexander Payne did. And then she was Bradley Cooper's wife in all 3 of the Hangover movies. And so it was just to be in the same space and share a scene and the screen with her just felt like such a dream. And she was a dream of a scene partner. I mean, just such a giving scene partner, and so kind, and just amazing. And then same goes for Connor Sherry and for Gabe LaBelle. I mean, they're both amazing. So, and then David Costabile is also in this film, and I'm a huge fan of Billions and his work there. But he was also in Suits and Breaking Bad. I mean, his IMDb list is very long.
Very
so
extensive.
to be in the room and on the same film and in the same scenes with these incredible actors, it really was a dream. And if you see the movie, I have a wig, and so I had a whole hair and makeup team and wardrobe team, and the wig was like its own, it had its own team, really. And so I had, a trailer, and then I was in hair and makeup trailers. So it just felt like it was the real it just felt like the real Hollywood experience. So
the big kind of Hollywood experience out in Omaha of all places. So I guess moving to Bellevue had its ups.
I know. It's, God's plans are bigger and greater, and sometimes we don't always know what they are, and then get here and everything has been what I thought at the time was going to be so hard, or being away from family and didn't know what I was going to do once we got here. Everything has really just worked out so beautifully.
Yeah, for sure. That's wonderful to hear. You saw the movie, correct? Snack Shack?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I actually went out to the premiere in Los Angeles. Wow. And it was just such an incredible experience. I got my first paparazzi photos and got my first Getty images. They're on the internet.
Yes,
so.
The Getty images. That's how you know you made it.
Right.
We are getting closer to the end here. So
okay.
I do want to talk a bit about a lot of the advice that you would give to people. We did talk about it a bit, especially with acting, but not necessarily where to go, like to these people for classes and whatnot, but what are the just lessons that you could, or advice that you could give to them that has helped you along this journey that could help them in either behind the camera or in front of it?
I think you definitely, like I said, learn a skill set. That's super important. And then, be good to people. I think that, this is a business of relationships, and people remember how you make them feel. And so I think it's really important to be kind and be fun to work with, be flexible to work with. Those things just really go a long way. Show up, show up on time, be prepared. Those are all easy, but like really important things to do and live by when you're trying to make it in this mountain of an industry.
Oh, yeah, it's very intimidating. I do want to ask, are there any personal projects, either ones that you've done or coming up, that kind of, when you're something that you're passionate about, changes the way you work on it? You can maybe even plug some ones you're excited about in the future and say like, hey, this is something we're working on, you guys should check it out. Anything on those?
Yeah, so I've been passionate about every project that I've done, and everyone has been unique, and I find something that pulls in my heart about each project that I've done, whether it's the people I'm working with or it's the actual subject matter. I've done a lot of film that has been, social justice type projects and things from women's perspectives and abuse and violence against women and suicide. I've done a lot of those really tough subjects, and I've been passionate about those as well. But I've also done fun, comedies and things that aren't quite as serious. Yeah. So I revel in the experience to be able to explore my range, and I'm always up for new challenges.
Well, I'm excited to see whatever you come up with in the future.
Yeah, so I told you we just finished a SAG-AFTRA short rom-com that I got to do with, I acted with my good friend Brian McClure, who's been in a ton of stuff. He's doing some really big things. His IMDb list is very long. So it was such an honor to be able to work with him. It's called No More Good Meet Cutes. No More Good Meet Cutes. Yes, so we're excited. Hopefully that will be screening in the film festival circuit starting the beginning of next year. So it's in post-production now. And then the next project that I'm working on is I'm producing alongside Christine Burright, who has written a really fun, amazing script. It's a mockumentary script, so it's another SAG-AFTRA micro short agreement that we're going to be doing. And I'm not going to say too much about it. I'll just say the title. It's called Bobby Hayden Church, Brother Number 2.
Bobby Hayden Church, Brother Number 2. This sounds mysterious and unique.
So it's so funny. So it's about Thomas Hayden Church's younger brother, who's trying to forge an acting career from middle America, without the help of his older famous sibling. Christine wrote a great script. She's also going to direct it. So we go into production. We start shooting on July 14th. So that's coming up.
Yeah.
So we have our locations locked down. We have most of our crew locked down, our cast. So we're very, very excited about that.
I can't wait to see it and hear all about it. Do you have any, kind of as the last question here, do you have any advice or kind of things you want to share in regards to balancing this life and also your personal life? 'Cause I know a lot of people say like it's hard to have one or the other. Is there a balance that you can strike?
You know, I don't know that I do have a great balance right now. I think that I just started training specifically in TV and film 5-6 years ago. And so I don't know that I've had the luxury of balance yet. I think that I've just been working so incredibly hard, and it's a constant hustle, a constant grind, constant networking. But I do try to, I mean, my marriage and my husband's the most amazing person in the world. He's my prince, and so I do try to prioritize our marriage and have meals in the evening and take time away from the phone, and I think I'm doing better about that than maybe what I did initially. But I try to prioritize my health. I have 3 nationally accredited fitness and nutrition certifications, so I do try to prioritize that as well. But yeah, it is tough, and I still have made a lot of sacrifices, and I've sacrificed a lot of time away from my family and continuing to travel for work and all of that as well. And I don't have children yet because I work so incredibly hard that I cannot imagine right now adding another level of the incredible hard that motherhood is as well. So there are some sacrifices for sure. But I'm trying to find, I think you have to really put that work in, you know, especially the first 5 years of just, you know, grind. And then I'm finding more balance as I'm coming along.
Yeah, that is wonderful to hear. It is a hard industry to navigate like that, because you have to put so much time into, especially your job, because you're running a company and you're producing, and like you said, it's just a stressful kind of position.
I think that you have to diversify yourself, and I think that the days of just making a living off of just acting alone, I think those days are over. I think that the days of $100,000 commercials that an actor used to be able to do, or streaming, has kind of killed the network residuals, and so it's just not as possible. So you have to diversify yourself.
Well, that's, I think we can all kind of agree with that and kind of learn something from that. But we are about at the end here. It's great getting to have this conversation with you. You're a great guest. Is there anything you want to like plug, or kind of anybody you want to shout out, anything like that before we?
Well, I think I just want to say, like, I mean, I'm a working professional, but I'm really like a nobody. but I work really hard, and I do think that experiences are valuable, and I have had a lot of experiences over the past, 5-6 years in this industry, and so hopefully someone will find some value in those experiences, and I'm always open to share with people. I have mentees that I mentor, and I'm interested in investing in students and for other new people in the industry, so I think that there is value in experience, and I've gained some experience, and I'm always willing to share it.
Absolutely. Well, I, as the host, feel like I learned a lot already, so I can't imagine what the audience feels. But that's this episode of Nebraska Entertainment Monthly.
Yay.
Kate, you were such a lovely guest.
Well, thank you so much.
We'll love to have you again.
Thank
but
you.
You guys have a good rest of your day.
Yay.
Cut right there.
Yay.